Welcome back to the Project Manga Podcast, where we cover Ayashimon, Mission Yozakura Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, Dr. Stone, My Hero, and One Piece week to week. Back this week, covering Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 7. I'm your host, Eagle.
Knox.
And I'm Melianis.
And as always, before we get started, we would just ask that you take a look in that description box down below where you can find links to any and all of our individual social media accounts, such as Twitter, online communities like Discord, audio listening platforms to consume the podcast on, as well as ways to support the podcast by, looking at our online store or checking out our Patreon. So also, while you're down there, you'll be able to find convenient timestamps that will allow you to navigate the video and avoid spoilers for series you're not current in. And also, while you're down there, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already.
Yeah.
And with all that said, fire-ass week and jump this week, all across the board. For real.
Bangers.
All across the board, fire-ass week and jump.
It's one of the strongest weeks in a while, I want to say.
Yes.
When it rains, it pours, boys.
When it rains, it pours.
When it rains, it does pour. I swear these manga artists are like, hey, you lined up? You ready?
You about to drop a banger? I'm about to drop a banger. You good? Gondaira? Okay. Gege? Okay, we all here.
I need to push up my schedule. I need to sync up with these guys.
Yeah. Well, with that said, let's jump right into it with chapter 8 of Ayashimon starting off. Don't tell me it's in bad taste.
Fire.
And Dopo this chapter, man.
Yes. Love everything about it. We're continuing. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I just love the way that we're continuing to develop Dopo as a character and a villain. I feel like Yuji Kaku's delivery on that front has been really interesting and really well paced.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah. And
It's
he's honestly very, terrifying. He's like, yo, fuck that fucking dual shit. I ain't saying the words. I ain't doing nothing. I'm just about to beat your ass into a pulp. I don't give a fuck. I know you ain't killing me. He's confident. He's like, I ain't getting turned into coins today.
Yeah, and it's still really early, so it's like kind of to be expected to a certain degree, but whenever Dopo is in the scene, we don't just get like power and character establishment, we also get like tons of world building too, because the Suzumi drums, like creating a separate space for conflict that can't be noticed, is really cool. I don't know if we've gotten that already. I think that might be new, but the conditions for the ritual duel seem to be like kind of getting like more like fleshed out here. I think you need to hit you have to have a particular placement of your goons with the Suzumi drums, and then you have to both agree to duel, and then maybe you have to change into your full yokai form to like kind of complete the ritual or whatever, to actually lock it into its rules or whatever.
From what we've seen so far, they have to like take their mask off, and reveal their yokai form, and then they have to say the ritual duel words. Right?
I think that's what he's trying to like say here. He's like, I'm not saying the words, I'm not taking my mask off, this is not an official ritual duel, it doesn't follow those rules or whatever, I think is what he's trying to say.
It's like, I don't need to and I don't want to,
right.
So
type shit.
I'm just gonna murk you right here, boys. Shoot him up, snap of the finger. I love it. It's so gangster, and it follows the sort of like Fae spirit rules, like the idea like never say sorry to a Fae, never like give them your name, never like actively accept things from them. Those kind of things. You had to follow like old school rules to like not get caught up in their magic or their bullshit.
Right.
So
cool.
I really like that. I think that it's less about like the mask coming off. Like, I think that a duel is gonna force them to be their true selves, right? So if they have the duel, the yokai automatically unmasks to be their true selves. And because Maruo's a Maribito, he's just, I'm just me, man. Like, let's go.
Oh man, I need more Maribito information like soon. Like, I want it like right now, like next chapter, like type shit. Because if this fight does go, kind of full frontal, full force or whatever, I feel like that would just be a good time to just get Maribito information. You want to have that kind of that kind of situation earlier, I want to say, rather than later, because like if you give them like a transformation to get through a certain kind of situation like later in the game, the later you do that, like it's hype, but like you have to worry about how it kind of fits in with the rest of the progression of the of the protagonist up until that point. I feel like if you do it earlier, since we've already kind of gotten a little bit of a hint of what Maribito are in this world, and this is his first like real kind of conflict that he can't just punch his way through seemingly, I feel like now better earlier than later would be to get the Maribito explanation and then build off that, you know, as the series continues, rather than having him punch through a bunch of shit for 50 fucking chapters and then finally, you know, capitalizing on the Maribito information like at a more dire point. I feel like would not hit as hard personally. Yeah.
So I really like the Akari's like reactions to a lot of things that go throughout the chapter. Like I really liked like the moment where he cries.
Oh, sure.
Just to skip a little past like the fight, because the fight's amazing, and I think we'll definitely go in depth on that. But
right.
There's this moment where he sees the carved horn sheath on page 15 and cries on page like 18.
Yeah.
And after seeing that and like seeing like the ice abilities in the fight, it made me wonder if he was sort of like a Yuki Onna type yokai, you know, the ice woman. And because like Dopo is like masculine presenting, but there's a lot of feminine traits, and like demons, supernatural creatures are always in my mind as seen as sort of like they are beyond gender. They choose the form that suits them the best.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Dopo Akari is actually like a Yuki Onna ice woman, and that they had affection for the previous chairman.
Kyo, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like they're just like, they were a little jealous, right? Like it seemed like this is emotional, this is something that tied to them, and there's a reason why they were like, okay, you know, if I can't have the person, I can have their legacy, and maybe that's why they took over the Enma Syndicate.
Sure.
Because they're like, if I can't have you, then I can have the thing that you were.
Yeah. I didn't really think about it like that. Like I definitely felt that Dopo had some kind of sentimental attachment to the previous chairman Kyo, and that's why like the tear kind of came down. I didn't think about the ice woman. I didn't think about jealousy or anything like that. The way that I kind of looked at it was, it's like, hey, chairman died, we all fucked with him, but we were all kind of waiting for our chance to kind of be him or be them. I don't, you know what I mean? So once his death was kind of confirmed, naturally all of the other syndicates would be like, all right, I'm up next. You know what I mean? Like, this is just the natural progression of things. I feel like I have what it takes to be the next chairman. I'm stepping up to do that. And then now being reminded, you know, of Chairman Kyo in this way brought about a tear of like, man, I really miss that guy. But like, this is the way the world is now. Like, I'm on top now. Like, I run this shit now. You know what I mean? Like, kill the girl. That sucks that, you know, Kyo had a daughter, and like I respect that about, you know, Kyo, and you know, I feel things for that, but at the same time it's like, this is my playground now, like we got to keep it moving, you know what I mean? It's kind of how I interpreted the scene. But that ice woman shit is cool, because like you never know when that lore research is going to come out, you know, inside of this series, because Yuji Kaku, if there's one thing that he's really good at, it's research on the subject matter that he's writing about, you know what I mean? So like you see that all over Jigo Karaku, you know what I mean? Like that, he's real serious about that kind of shit. So you literally never know when that kind of stuff can pop up in Ayashimon.
I think it's also like, it's a good cultural climate to have characters that are like gender ambiguous, gender neutral, or even like transgressing. So like I like the idea of like, because like I like the idea of like Dopo being the Yuki Onna, and he's like, well, I have this mask, this is who I want to be, as opposed to like what I existed in the beginning as. So I like the idea of transformation. And like the part where like they get punched and they kind of turn into like a snow a little bit, where like they get punched through the face. So that's kind of where that's where it started getting it, and like the fact that they created like this large crystal scythe out of their arm, that was super cool. And I like that it's like non-fire. Like they're like fire, and I was like, sacred, got your little trick.
The ability to steal heat is really cool, and I think that like your ice demon or ice queen like thing like kind of like is starting to make a little bit more sense, because like not only is he just stealing heat, but he does kind of seem to break apart like snow when he's punched in the face. I was wondering what that effect was. I was wanting to ask you guys what you thought about that, because it doesn't seem like it's just regular regeneration or or anything like that or whatever you'd think when you first look at it. It does look like it could be a snow effect inside of Yuji Kaku's illustration style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be snow, or I mean, it's tough to say because it doesn't look like snow or ice breaking apart.
Right.
It just looks more like
deleted.
A paper kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Exactly. It's tricky. Though I like that they're using like. I think that like Dopo is like a fantastic like torture-oriented bad guy. Like his dialogue for that is just like, geez, that must hurt. What's that device used for? They're gonna do that to me later. Getting to think that that's what breaks people's spirits, and then like him like casually breaking down what his abilities are doing to you is like, yeah, if you freeze apart, you'll never get full function, even if you thought, because water in the cells expand, freeze, and shred the cell walls.
Yes.
And it's just like, it's just like this very like matter of fact, very clinical, detached, impersonal thing.
And he's got being a gangster down to a T. He knows how to talk to you. He knows how to like be cool while also giving information. You know what I mean? Like when he's talking about torture, and he's like, see, you try to torture someone for information, and sometimes they can just take it. Or on the flip side, they could be so weak that they just die on you. But you torture someone in front of them, and that becomes a little bit more cause for compassion and just like them doing what you want them to do, because it's not about them, it's about someone else. And especially inside of shonen storytelling and just manga storytelling in general, you do get a lot of characters that are on some I don't care what happens to me type shit. Don't fucking hurt my friends or family, you know what I mean? So it feels like it's kind of playing on that while establishing this very like Robert De Niro in Casino, like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas kind of like gangster villain that knows how to use real world physics and explanations for things to help plant that seed of doubt and worry. Like whenever when he's explaining like cell walls and freezing and shit like that, like me personally, I was like, yo, that makes a lot of sense. Oh my god, that would suck. Like, yo, like when you get scientific with it, it's like, okay, now I believe you even more. You know what I mean? And it's like now I'm even more scared type shit.
I'm already worried about getting frostbite. Just every winter, it's a little in the back of my mind. I'm like, I hope I don't have to like go anywhere for like extended periods of times. Like, but like I live much closer to my workplace now, so it's a much easier walk. But it's just like frostbite just sounds so bad. Ever since I watched that movie Mr. Deeds, I've been terrified of getting frostbite. Thanks, Adam Sandler.
But nah, man, this chapter did a lot for the advancement of the plot. But it was also packed with a bunch of cool subversions that play against the expectations that the series have kind of set up for us so far. Like, and they even mention it themselves, like in the chapter, like it's not a ritual duel. My fire isn't hot, etc. You know what I mean? Like I love when I can feel the awareness of shonen storytelling history from the creator, and it's like, when do we stop giving you, the same thing over and over, and then subvert that when you're expecting, something of the same? And it's like when he was like, "This ain't a ritual duel," you know what I'm saying? I was like, "Oh, okay." So Maruo's not guaranteed to just win this, because I felt like if he would have been like, yep, it's the ritual duel, only one person can come out of those, and obviously the main character isn't going to die in chapter 8, so you know what I mean.
Surprise.
Right. I just love that.
Oh man, I think there's something interesting, because there's a lot of like hidden exposition in this chapter. I feel like especially with the barrier drums and stuff, but the carved horn nut dagger that she's given, on page 14, you'll regain your power that's your birthright as an Oni.
Yes.
So this confirms what Urarara is. And that kind of makes sense because, like, the traditional, like, figure of, like, King Enma, Lord of Hell, is usually that giant guy with, like, the Oni tusks and the horns, big red skin, like Dragon Ball Z, the big, like, Bagua.
Koenma's dad.
Bagua. Yeah,
Koenma's
exactly.
dad in Yu Yu Hakusho.
Absolutely, 100%. And so I'm like, Urara being an Oni, like, fits that image so much. So for me, I'm like, yes, traditional, like, supernatural lore. It's just like chef's kiss. Love that. Great confirmation.
But this is cool too because it's like Urara was hinting at abilities that she had prior to this dagger's introduction in the narrative. So she has her own kind of like personal abilities that don't rely on whatever her true form is that Hashihime seems to be, you know, hinting
like
at
she
here.
Did that shit with the hair,
with
bro.
the hair,
like,
and she let the kimono down and was like, "Don't get it twisted, I'm still that bitch," or whatever she said. And it was when she was about to turn up or whatever. And it's like, man, it's like, okay, so she's gonna have her own little personal shit, and then she's gonna pull the knife out and get crazier. Like that's really cool.
I think it'll be interesting because I think it'll be similar to, like, she'll have ingenuity, right? She's used to working with, like, a limited amount of power and, like, working within her abilities, and then getting a major boost. She might be trying to apply tactics, like the clever feints and stuff that she had to use with less power to like an even stronger power. And, like, maybe she'll have a parallel to Maruo where they can't control their strength because they're just not used to it.
Ooh.
I think that would be really nice because she displayed like a remarkable protagonist moment for her in this chapter.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, they're disposable pawns. I can get rid of Maruo. I can just leave. Hashihime, fuck them. And she's like,
pull the dagger out.
Yeah, it's like I gotta hold my people down. Yeah, absolutely.
Pull the dagger out.
Yeah, pull the dagger out.
I'm really curious to see how this situation's gonna get resolved because, like, you guys have been talking about, like, this is an early in the story type situation with one of the, you know, top people who we think are looking at right now as end of the story, possibly at least end of the arc type boss.
Yeah.
And the main characters have to get out of it somehow. So I'm curious to see how it's gonna get resolved here.
Yeah, I know, because it's like I feel like it has to be just interrupted. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way Doppo goes down this early after being built up so well, unless fucking Yuji Kaku just has a litany of incredible main villains that we can just go through, you know what I mean? Like, after, like, however long, you know? But it seems like Yuji Kaku is really trying to set up Doppo to be a consistent factor in the conflict for at least a little bit longer than maybe even a first arc. Like, I can see him lasting, like, at least, like, 30 chapters.
Saga type.
Yeah, type shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I love the Urara, like, moment of staying to fight for Maruo, because after that, when she does stay, then we go into, you know, Doppo talking shit to her, like, you know, his people are like, didn't you just say that, you know, she's Chairman Kyo's? He's like, hey, don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. Blow her brains out. She was hidden away, right? He made sure no one even knew she existed. That means she's a nobody. She's not worthy of officially inheriting anything. He abandoned her. That's gotta be like a major point of, you know, Urara's character, is at least in terms of like introspective, like doubt or struggle or trauma or anxiety, personal fear or whatever, and he just fucking like stimulated that, and Maruo can feel that, and he gets up and was like, nah, you know, he's dumb, like he doesn't like understand her like mode of thinking entirely, but like she doesn't know that she was, you know, contemplating just leaving them, and, you know, because he's expendable or whatever, but she's there now getting torn, getting ripped on by Doppo, and he's like, no, I gotta hold my homegirl down. Hits the fucking gear second pose. Boom, that panel is so fire.
I love that he does like a manga reference. I want to see how many manga references we can find in his like fighting stances.
Yeah, and I hope that they're all really, I hope that like the whole manga protagonist thing, it's like whatever, it's early, you want to talk about it in dialogue all the time because that's the gimmick, like that's the theme, that's the thing, and that's like totally fine or whatever. But like how long is that going to be, cool until before it gets like annoying or something like that? And I feel like Yuji Kaku is aware enough about that to where like he can give it to you in dialogue just enough to where it's not like overbearing and annoying, but then mostly it just comes from little illustrative references, or at least more subtle references in the dialogue than just shouting, I want to be a manga protagonist. No, like we see it in his fighting style and shit like that, so that's good enough a lot of the time.
I like that Yuji Kaku trusts his reader to be smart enough to see it when they see it. Like, it's just like, hey, I don't need to hand this. I don't need to spell it out. I don't have to have him say, I want to be the Hokage, and then strike a fighting pose like every time. He's just like, no, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. Because like, even the point of like you were talking about like page 18 where he's like really throwing every emotional damage that he can at Urarara. He does it the entire time. He refuses to look at her. And he's like, and he says even, it's like, shoot her now before and it's like, does that mean he can't do it himself? Does that mean he can't bring himself to do it? And he's like, no, I can't do it. Men, take care of it. I am deferring responsibility for this action because I cared for the Kyo family.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like, shoot the girl, do it before I change my mind, before I, get too sentimental in the moment and let her escape or something. Like, I think you're spot on with that. That was fire.
I think so too, because like he refuses to look at her, and the way he like really tears her apart, it feels like like an emotional like reflex, right? Like they're like, oh no, I had a plan. I was gonna do all these things. I've got new information. Fuck, I hate this. I don't like how I'm feeling about this. Yeah. I'm going to violently react the opposite and try to find justifications to hate her.
Wow. Fuck yeah. That was so well said. I love that. Yeah. I'm right on board.
I'm on board with that as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like eventually he might try to like get them into the Enma Syndicate.
Oh shit, he might fight Maruo, and like the interruption is, I don't want to fight you anymore, I want you to join my team.
Yeah, and then they've already started war with every other gang, so now Maruo would have a bunch of people to fight. And I think it would be fitting with the series because like on page 22, 23 at the end of the thing, he's like, I admire your loyalty, and he's like, loyalty, what do you mean? This is gratitude. All I've been waiting for is a fight, and you're strong, you're a scumbag, and you won't go down no matter how many times I hit you. This is a first for me. I think I'm in love.
Yeah, straight up, yes. Right. Oh, dude, man.
I love Moreau. He's so gritty, and I'm like, oh, this kid's cracked. He's broken. I love him.
Yeah, look at this fucking panel on 22. Like, this is gratitude. Like, he just looks like such a menace.
He is a menace to society. Yeah, I mean, did you see what he did to that bakery?
Yeah, for real. Did you see what he did to everything that he's ever come in contact with?
Touched.
Yeah.
He's fucked up though. Like he's about to die.
Who, Maruo?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks pretty fucked up. But...
like that last panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. I want to see how this pans. I'm really interested because I love that Yuji Kaku has created a thing where it follows a lot of tropes. It has enough subversions where I genuinely don't know where this is going.
Right. And I've got
a couple theories, but I love that feeling. It's the best. I'm so glad we picked this up this series.
Hell yeah, yes. Dude.
Yeah.
But that's it for Ayashimon for me.
Yeah, I think I'm good
stoked.
too. I can't wait till the next chapter because it's like the last thing that I'm kind of waiting for in Ayashimon before I'm like, yep, this shit's good, don't gotta worry about set it and forget it kind of thing, is like power for Maruo. You know what I mean? Like he's hit a wall here now to where his current fighting style just doesn't seem to be enough. I can't see him outright defeating Doppo this early. So after whatever interruption that happens, this whatever the next stretch of storytelling is would be a great opportunity for us to learn more about how Maruo can compete effectively in this series against stronger Ayashimon than the ones that he's kind of been facing, and Doppo kind of entering as that first example of why it's important that Maruo learns more about the underworld and what it means to operate inside of it is going to be really important, you know, depending on how this fight in particular kind of ends. So I'm dumb excited for the next chapter.
I think with how well he did on what was the power system in
Jujutsu
Tao? Yeah.
Tao. I think with how well he did with Tao,
exactly. Yes.
We're
gonna be good. He knows how to do a good power system. Like,
I really need to start. I just started like the first like 3 chapters of Jujutsu personally, so like I need to check that out.
I didn't know that you hadn't read Jujutsu yet.
Well, everyone's been talking about it, so I was like, I need to catch up, bro. But,
man,
I wonder if Urara like gains more hair power. You know, because she already used her hair for a while. So if she can like further enhance her hair once she unsheathed the sword, the dagger, would she be able to like use her hair and like wreath Maruo in like demonic hair armor? Because she does like little spiral drills of hair. She did that once.
Yeah.
What if she creates like she cuts off a chunk of her hair, wraps around like his fists and becomes like a little like knuckle dusters.
Yeah.
Like spiked knuckle dusters, and he's like, yeah, demon energy.
If that's like the way that they kind of link, since he's like not actually an Ayashimon, obviously they're talking about Maribito stuff, so he'll probably have a power set inside of that eventually. But in the meantime, kind of, you know, to make up for his lack of Yojutsu, just teams up with fucking Urara in that way would be so fucking sick.
Like, I think with, like, cutting hair, to regrow or regenerate would be a good way to limit that kind of power boost.
Could you say that again? Your internet kind of, like, spiked or dropped for a sec.
So... with like if she cuts her hair and uses it as a weapon to you know, she has to let her hair grow back. So I think that like having that downtime for like that boost, she's like, I can't do this all the time. The more I cut my hair, the more power I'm siphoning off of it, the longer it'll take to regrow. So I can only do this sparingly.
So it's like a visual representation of her mana pool, which is like really cool. That would be really cool if that was a thing, because it's like, okay, it's a big fight, I'm gonna give you my hair, cuts it down to like the bob or some shit, you know what I mean? Like, and then gives him the rest of the hair as like armor or whatever you're saying. And then after that fight, it's like, we know that and maybe the hair grows back quicker, like much quicker than usual, just because of like Ayashimon stuff. You know what I mean? But like seeing her with less hair as they go into the next conflict means that they don't have like the full range of capabilities that they had in the last conflict, which builds stakes. You know what I mean? So that would be really cool if there was a physical representation of that. That would.
Then somebody lops her shit off in one arc, and they're like, no!
Yeah, like at the start of the arc, like someone ninjas behind her and just like cuts her hair off before the conflict even starts.
No. She cuts off like a big chunk of hair, she throws it to Maruo, and then one guy just like super speeds, grabs it into his hands and like incinerates
it all. It's like, well, you don't have that trump card now. Now what are you gonna do? Like, yo, that'd be crazy.
But I think that's a good way to like limit uses of boosts. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just Power Ranger your way through this.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I'd
that's
love
it for me.
Yeah. And I'm good on Ayashimon too.
I also am good on Ayashimon. All right, well, with that, I think we can go ahead and get right into chapter 113 of Mission Yozakura Family. Title is Where's the title? We gotta start this over.
Nanao Hazard. It's on the color page.
Oh, it's on the
top
color
right
page.
Yeah, Nanao Hazard. I fucking love this chapter, man. It starts off as like this horror like slasher horror flick vibe. That's like one of my favorite things about like times in Yozakura Family like this. Is like these kind of chapters start off with some wild situation that make you go like, how did we get here? And then the storytelling like loops back, you know, jumps back a bit and shows you. I think that's brilliant strategy for the more for the more like slice of life, like whole story in one chapter kind of episodes of Yozakura family.
It needs to go that way.
Yeah, because there's instantly something that has you go, I need to see how the rest of this chapter pans out so I can get an explanation on this.
Definitely. Yeah, this was a nice, feel-good chapter. I like this. Especially the moment at the end between Kyoichiro and Nanao. Super wholesome.
Yeah.
Big brother to little brother moment.
Yeah, that's the major point for sure.
Yeah, that's the major point. I mean, obviously, but
dude, Nanao is such a good slasher. Like
though.
He's such a good slasher. He's got like the face, like the immovable mask.
Yeah. He's
got
big
the
and imposing.
frame.
Yeah.
He's got medical equipment. It's terrifying. Nobody likes it. Yeah. It's like, and like I think
medical equipment.
Yeah.
And
the comedy fits in with it too, because it's like, how does this all start? Someone sneezed. When someone sneezes. When someone is sick in the Yozakura household, which is something I don't think that we have really seen up until now. I'm pretty sure that's the point of this chapter. But yeah, whenever someone's sick in the household, everything goes on lockdown and now becomes super try hard, like, you know, doctor mode. Like, we're not letting this shit spread. You're getting the drugs you need. Like, we're doing this shit seriously. And it's like, it's just so good for his character.
Yeah, it's like, doctor, get in the news. I'm slowly walking towards you. Jason, cha.
Yeah, and I was talking about it on Twitter too a little bit about how like any sibling can be paired, you know, with any other, and there's always such a dope dialogue, you know, between them, and there's always some, you know, amazing connecting theme between the two siblings that are interacting that just make the scene pop. You know what I mean? Like, this is first eldest son talking to youngest son. Like, that's so relatable for a lot of people, and it just makes so much sense that this would be the kind of conversation that these two specific characters would be having with each other. And it's just so good. It fits so well. It's so organic. It's so brilliant in that way of how Gondaira does that with his character dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's also like super topical after like 3 years into a pandemic where everyone's just like, hey, you're sick, okay, we need to take care of this, and it's like, hey man, let's relax. It's like, no, we got it. Gotta do it. Come on,
I never even thought about that. There is like kind of, you know, like a really strong prescience to it in that way with coronavirus and shit like that. Like,
it's super topical, and like now is just like, nope, we're gonna fix this shit right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. I like that, like, because like the Yozakura siblings are all mostly kids. I like that, like, they have that fear of needles and stuff. And they're like, come on, you're spies and you're afraid of just little injections. He's like, shut up, you don't have to do it. And he's like, no, I was just thinking to myself, I've done so much worse to myself.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I like how he bypassed his own siblings just because of his knowledge of them. Like, the wall moment. He's just like,
I was just looking at page 11.
I've got the hall sensors. He's like, the walls are outside your range of sensors. That's basic knowledge, Shion.
Yeah. And what did he say about Shinzo? Did he say anything about Shinzo? I can't remember. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, the walls are outside your range of sensors. That's basic knowledge, Shion. And then your awareness of family is lax, Shinzo, because it's like, you're older, like, you should fucking be ready for, you know, everybody's strategies the way I am. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that shit's great.
Yeah, I love that. Also, the fact that he's enhanced himself to the point where he's just like, yeah, I can just smack that, like, lightning bolt that you shot at me. Pink, I don't care.
Backhands that shit. Yeah. Since my cell layers are so thick, your attack only tickles a little bit, and it's like,
and then that smile, that goofy smile. Just zoomed in.
I love in stories where you have a character with like a fixed facial expression, either because they're wearing a helmet, bucket, or whatever this is, or they're wearing like a legitimate, like, you know, Iron Man helmet or something, or whatever. I love when the illustrator is aware of that and like positions the character in ways to where it feels like you're seeing emotion from that mask when you're really not. You know what I mean? Like, a good example in the West for this is like Robot from Invincible. You know what I mean? Fucking Same face at all times, but the lighting, the angle,
body language.
shit like that can
that
show
delivery.
you, emotion in the mask or the helmet, which just always slaps.
Robot has like so many like bitch please moments. Like, really, motherfucker?
Yeah. Yeah, straight up. Fucking man, now I'm like thinking of like even more like examples. Genba in Elusive Samurai.
Yes. Mandalorian.
Ooh, yeah, I haven't seen Mandalorian, but that's probably got a ton of those too.
Some of my friends have been telling me about that stuff, and they're just like, yeah, he seems so expressive despite having no helmet, like a helmet on all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting the way that like he really operates with having a helmet where he moves his entire body and not his head.
Oh, yeah.
He just like shifts wherever he's looking.
Oh. I remember we talked about this a bunch when we were reviewing Chainsaw Man too, about like the range of emotion that Denji's chainsaw form face can like kind of have subtly. Yeah. Some cool shit, man.
Oh yeah, like there's a part where like he just looks like he's roaring, and it's just like that looks tragic.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Denji right now, right?
Yeah, Denji, where he's like roaring, and it's like, man, you managed to make him look tragic in this moment because the framing and like all this other stuff. That's amazing. Like,
when he's fighting Aki too, I remember we had a conversation in the chapter where he fights Aki, and like just like after the conflict is like over and his like kind of his chainsaw form kind of melts away. Like right before that, there's a couple panels of him in chainsaw form just looking so sad almost, you know what I mean?
Forlorn.
Forlorn. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. Getting back to Yozakura, I don't know. I love this chapter, dude. I love when we get these little breaks from the overarching narrative, because like considering where we're at in the story, the one-off like sibling focused chapters that focus on their more personal trauma and like anxiety are going to be better follow-ups to the main overarching narrative arcs, you know what I mean, that that are getting more and more serious as time goes on, you know what I mean. Like there's always going to be comedy and cutesy romance shit because that's just the kind of, you know, family that they are and the kind of manga that this is. But these more introspective one-offs that focus on siblings like personal struggles and how they overcome them with specific interactions between specific family members, like it just feels much better for these newer in-between arcs, because we're at a point where we know these characters well enough already. We're past that initial characterization and development. It's time for growth and progression inside of the characters, and the best way to show that is by giving them storytelling like this later on in the story, you know what I mean. So
I mean, also I like the little like page 16, 17. I really like that the when Nanao's talking, he's like, even though it's my specialty, I'm powerless. It's the opposite Koichiro. Everyone coddles me because I'm the youngest. He doesn't make eye contact, and even the dialogue bubbles cover his eyes. And it's like, these are thoughts that he has to himself. And like, it's like, you know, it's masking who he is, right? As opposed to like the truth of it, where like when he's talking about like, we are the Yozakura siblings, we are each other's families in converse, superiority and inferiority doesn't matter. That's when you see Nanao's eyes, and he's like, you know, hey, this is the truth of it. Here's what's really important, not this stuff that you're putting on yourself, putting over yourself, literally.
No, that's really cool, man. The dialogue bubbles covering his eyes while he's talking about his anxiety and his self-doubt, and then just being able to see his eyes once he has that, you know, conversation or that specific back and forth with Kyoichiro, where he addresses that and goes, you don't need to worry about those things, you are great, you've done a lot already. Now the dialogue bubbles are not covering his face anymore because it's just him now, and he's like coming to terms with that. That's really cool analysis. I like the little subtle touches when it comes to like visual storytelling. Yeah, you're always really
really
good on those.
That. Yeah. And I like that he's just like, it's like, aren't you contradictory? He's like, there's nothing contradictory. I'm the oldest son. That's still contradictory. And it's just like, and
is it? I was wondering what he meant by contradictory. It's because of how he is with Mutsumi, right?
I was saying that he's like, birth order doesn't matter, and then he immediately says, I'm saying this as the oldest brother, so that means it's the truth. And is like, isn't that in itself contradictory? It's like, no, it's not contradictory. I'm the oldest. Obviously, I'm right. And after immediate time, it's like, young, old, doesn't matter. I'm right. I'm telling the truth because I'm the oldest.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Motherfucker, you're just saying saying shit, what do you want to say, don't you? And he's like, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
I was like, I totally didn't get that at first, but now I do, so thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was cute, very cheeky. On like page 21, the like super bitter medicine is probably the most like accurately Asian thing I've ever seen. Because when I was 19, I caught dysentery and mono at the same time. Oregon Trail myself.
God. Oregon Trail, I was about to say.
Yeah, I was in the hospital for like a couple months.
Oh my God, dude.
But they had me eat so much garbage herbal medicine. Like they had like a bunch of herbs pounded into like a thick paste, and it was in a plastic bag, and you unzipped it and you dumped boiling water into it, shook it all up to make it like dissolved, and drink it all. And it was always like the most vile shit I'd ever had.
Jesus.
But like Chinese medicine is like, their preventative medicine is so good. Like I've been taking like this like jade windscreen like bitter medicine like every day for like last 2-3 years, and I still haven't had COVID.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And like I'm around people like I am around people at my workplace that are like you know, or like they're like, oh yeah, I was exposed over the holidays, or like, oh this and that, and I'm like, I had lunch with a guy who told me he tested positive like the next day, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just hang out and get tested. And it's like negative still, and I'm like, cool. He was breathing right in my face. How?
System is fire.
Yeah, so like I just think it's really interesting on that point, like especially like the herbal medicine, because it is so fucking bitter.
Yeah, and Kyochiro's like, I don't want nothing to do with that, and he's like, pin him down.
We got stabbed in the neck. Okay, we had to run from the now. We were fighting for our lives.
Yeah, and you could just hear him screaming in the background, like, yeah! You know, like that's that one background scream that's like always used in like SpongeBob and shit.
The Wilhelm scream?
Yeah, I don't know what it's from or whatever, but yeah, everybody knows what scream I'm talking about.
My leg!
Yeah, type my leg.
It's like when he's falling down the giant like elevator tunnel. It's just like
Yeah, it's like literally like the onomatopoeia, or not the dialogue, the specific lettering for it, just like the G into the Y into the A. Yeah, like I could just hear it, like yeah, type shit. But yeah, that's all I had for Yozakura, man. I don't know. Yeah. Great, and now in Kyoichiro chapter, bro. Like yeah, I was waiting for this interaction and I didn't even know it. You know what I mean? Like it was right on time. I feel like for both characters.
It was very in character, especially with like Kengo's like overly laissez-faire attitude being his own undoing, straight up. And it's just like, that's nice. I like that. Like,
I love this family.
It's a very short, sweet chapter. Just adorable.
Hell yeah!
Despite being based off a horror movie.
Right.
Hell yeah! Well, I think that does it for chapter 113 of Mission Yozakura Family.
Hell yeah.
Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and move right into chapter 171 of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
Tokyo Number 1 Colony Part 11. And this chapter was a fucking slapper.
For literally everything that Jujutsu Kaisen does well, I feel like is in this chapter and is firing on all cylinders.
For real.
That ass.
No giant skeleton, but still really satisfying fight. This was so much fun.
Yeah, we didn't see what was. Yeah, we're not really getting that in play yet, which is like really interesting because it's like, why put that as like a visual thing if you're not going to do anything with it? And I'm not saying that Gege is not going to do anything with it. They just didn't do anything with it right away. I still feel like it's going to be a factor.
Not complete.
Yeah, I just still feel like it's going to be a factor in this fight regardless of it. And if not, then. It's like, man, what a tease. It's like, when are we going to get that?
Yeah. Well, also, like, I mean,
what if it's like... Go ahead.
Oh, I was looking at the art and like on page 1 where the nerve endings are like spreading, and then on page 2 you see like the energy of like that thing like arcing out towards everywhere. So I was wondering if it was like that was like representative of him right? And the nerves are connecting to the building, right? And that's why it's all him, all his shadow.
That's what creates like the pseudo bubble effect of the domain. Is these the nerves.
To even dovetail off that a little bit.
Yeah.
What if that bone structure thing ends up being like his brainstem, basically? And the Chimera Shadow Garden, like the domain, is actually basically you're within his mind.
Hey, yeah.
And that's why he can control fucking shit going on. The shadows in there. He can pop up anywhere he wants. He can make clones, bro. He can do whatever the fuck.
That's actually pretty cool to think about.
I think that's actually more accurate because, like, I like that he creates like a brainstem out of his own cursed energy. The nerves, you know, expand and like connect the space with that, and then like every shadow puppet creature that he summons is part of his imagination.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, you know, shadow puppetry literally is about imagination and like stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked that like Reggie was still super confident and like using like the esoteric technique, Hollow Wicker Basket, which is like the proto simple domain.
Yeah, this is what makes me like. I think I'm a little bit more on board that Reggie is, you know, an old sorcerer now, just off of that one narration box. Like, this is the original form of the new Shadow style simple domain, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's pretty much seals it for me right now. You know what I mean? It's like, why would he have access to this unless, you know, he specifically comes from the clan that, you know, created the technique or whatever. He could still be a modern sorcerer, but like this just makes me feel really strongly that he's an old school sorcerer, at least at this point.
I mean, not even necessarily. He could be, you know, because I'm sure receipts in a rudimentary form at least have existed for a long time. Like people would at least record like, okay, this person bought this item for this much.
Yeah, I wonder how far back receipts go in history. That's a good question.
Simple Google search will tell us.
True.
Actually, so there's a guy named Ia Nasir from Dilmun, and he traveled through like Mesopotamia, and he was basically from the 18th century before Christ.
Okay.
And they have receipts about him selling poor copper and ripping people off, and apparently some guy collected all of the bad complaints on these stone tablets about Ia Nasir, and that's the only reason we know about this guy. And let's be honest, it was probably that guy who was just like, yeah, I ripped off all these people, my little trophies. Yeah.
That's like where the curse comes from originally for the
time. Back to around 7500 BC, the first receipts of transaction came in the form of balls of clay to represent the completion of trade. These were usually related to the exchange of livestock or occasionally beer. So, he could be an ancient sorcerer.
Yeah, even with a technique like this. It's really just his dialogue. Although, kind of, you know, his dialogue.
Carrying around a bunch of balls of clay would be a little more cumbersome than
than a dress.
Maybe that's why he invented this. Maybe that's why he invented and got used to this kind of armor of receipts aesthetic, because you could have clay armor. Maybe he's got a bunch of clay slats, armor. Yeah. And that's why he kind of got used to the receipt armor vibe.
I really do like the receipt armor because it reminds me of like that traditional grass cloak that is like very evocative of older times. And even though he has like, you know, kind of like the weird facial hair and like the tattoo that says Indomitable and stuff, which kind of implies like a more modern sense. Yeah. The long hair is like an old thing. So like in like Native American tradition, they view that like long hair is a conduit for like connected spirituality and like sensitivity and awareness. Back in like, what was it, World War I or World War II, one of the two things, they had Native American trackers and scouts who were like some of the best of the best. And when the military shaved their heads because military wants you all to be alike, they suddenly had like abysmal results.
Oh wow.
like their effectivity like dropped down drastically, and they changed policy, I think, because of that. They're just like, we fucked up somehow. We don't know what we did, but we know that after we did this, it got fucked.
Yeah.
So let's maintain this. We
need
all the advantages we do.
I like the idea of Reggie being an old school sorcerer. The only thing that really just kind of sets that back for me is his dialogue just feels really modern, and on top of that, he seems to be like really familiar with modern technology. Like he spawns the fucking, he spawns the fucking the moped and just hops on that bitch confident as hell as he's riding through. And it's like that can be explained inside of the technique too. It's like whether you're familiar with the appliance or the item or not, the technique just gives you all the information that you need in order to use it effectively. Like that could totally be a thing too. But still,
he did direct his daggers to fly, so he might just like be able to like direct the Vespa, and he's like, drive where I point you. That's all I want you to do. Just drive where I point you. Boom. It's simple command.
And then I just have to hitch a ride on it. Yeah.
And it's like, if I can ride a horse, I can ride a Vespa. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard because like the word esoteric literally means intended to be understood by only a small number of people with specialized knowledge. And I was like, all right, but like that's a lot of jujutsu stuff in general. So like it's just like, all right, cool. I get it.
The name fits like inside of like simple domains specifically, because it's like we see like pretty much every, like all of these different jujutsu techniques, and we'll even see domains and whatnot sometimes, but like simple domains is like esoteric even further than that inside of jujutsu sorcery. I want to say like we've only seen simple domains like 3 times. We got Naobitos, we got Miwas, we got Uis, and then now we have this one. So this will be the 4th simple domain, which I guess makes it, a little bit more common than I originally had thought. But like still, like I feel like this might even be like a meta thing about like how difficult the power system in general just is for like a lot of people, you know what I mean, to like kind of like grasp right away. Like a lot of people, myself included, have like needed rereads of Jujutsu Kaisen to really understand what's going on a lot of the time, which isn't an inherently negative thing. It just, seeing the word esoteric connected to a simple domain just like feels meta to me on behalf of like Gege. But
I think it's really interesting because it does like it implies a sorcery meta, right? Like when it comes to video games, you talk like, okay, these characters, these builds, like in like Smite or Dota or League of Legends, like it's like these items, these builds, these runes, they're going to be very effective at these kind of things. We build these things to counter that, right? If you have a lifesteal deck, then we have a heal cut response, right? So like I like that simple domain and hollow wicker basket are things to negate the surefire techniques of domains, because if it's like it just makes sense, right? Like if you have if you have a gun, a bulletproof vest is the like immediate thing.
Counter,
if you have someone throwing rocks at you, you have a shield. You have, if someone's going to slash at you, well then you have armor. Like it just makes sense.
But none of those things are all encompassing counters and defenses against every kind of strategy, because it's like if you have the bulletproof vest, when I try to shoot you with a gun, then I'll just stab you in the neck with a knife. You know what I mean? It doesn't cover everything.
Exactly. I like that though. Yeah. I really appreciate that, and it's really exemplified in this fight because he's like, I've been 2 steps ahead of you this entire time. No surefire hits, and he's like, I'm not gonna do a surefire hit, but I'm sure gonna hit you.
I love that we're getting confirmation on a couple of things that we were talking about last review inside of domain mechanics, and more specifically incomplete domain mechanics, because we were asking questions last review like, okay, so he's kind of mimicked the bubble effect of domains by coming into this like stadium or this gymnasium or wherever the fuck he is. So we've got like a pretty much complete domain, but it's not actually complete. So what does that mean for things like sure hit? Does Megumi even have a sure hit? And would he have a sure hit just because this like pseudo bubble completion is active right now? Is he going to be able to nullify the effects of enemy jujutsu techniques the way that domains normally do when they have a bubble. You know what I mean? And we're getting the answer to those questions in here. Reggie is still able to use his technique inside of this domain, even though it is technically complete. So we're getting a lot more information on what this kind of situation means for a character like Megumi or any other character inside of Jujutsu Kaisen that we could eventually meet that also has an incomplete domain, and the variables and just different branches that we have inside of the strategy because of things like incompletion versus completion is just like makes the combat and just the events so much more interesting, because it's like we know a lot, but there's a lot more that we don't know and that we want to know now because of this situation. So it's just really cool. Someone said it in the comments section of the chapter, and I like copied their message and put it into my notes because it was literally just like word for word, bar for bar how I felt after I read the chapters. From Ebon Sean is the commenter, and his quote is, "I positively love the way that Akutami has the cause and effect relationships of this combat magic system so very clearly mapped out. It makes it so realistic and organic when new possibilities are explored via subverting the pre-established conditions in ways the reader wouldn't think of beforehand." And I read that shit and I was like, yo, that's how I felt, but you said it like so much better than I could have put it together. So I had to shout out Ebon Sean in this review for that comment. And I usually don't spend a whole lot of time in comment sections for new chapters because I don't want to feel like my analysis is like influenced by something someone said. But like I saw a comment when I was glancing through that like triggered me about someone complaining about how convoluted the combat mechanics and the system inside of Jujutsu Kaisen is, and how like I don't remember exactly what they said, but I just remember just being like,
it felt wrong.
Yeah, it just felt so wrong.
And I don't agree with you at all.
And, yeah, and like convoluted with like the connotation that user kind of had on it. It's like, no, like more complicated than shonen power and combat usually is, like, sure. But like that's not really Jujutsu Kaisen's fault. You know what I mean? Like not having the full picture your first read doesn't equal convoluted, at least not in the way that this person was kind of trying to go about it. Like Gege caring enough about power in their series to make sure that the events are all logically and technically consistent, you know, and feel good to the people that have been paying attention is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like just go fucking read it again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, it's hard to say like a series is convoluted or like an ability system is convoluted when like Nen exists, and like at the same time I remember reading Bleach when Sosuke Aizen had his like turn, spoiler alert, but like that to me I was like anything that involves Sosuke Aizen always to me felt so convoluted. I was like I feel like you're pulling a fast one on
like wait a minute. But like Jujutsu Kaisen, like no, like it doesn't, and I feel like one of the factors of that is just could be potentially, this is just like off the top of my head, but like it's viewed kind of on the surface as like a more meatheady kind of series, right? Because the action is so, you know, well done and so high priority inside of the creators motives for the series, right? Because it's like when you break Jujutsu Kaisen down, it's like, what are the things that stand out to you? The fucking action choreography is one of those first things, right? And it's like, so when you have that translated so well into the anime as well, you could potentially get this idea that Jujutsu Kaisen is a meathead series. But while it's being that way, you know, like while it's focusing on the action is so in your face and high octane and well executed, like you could very easily miss a lot of the subtle, deep character and power system writing in between because you're so, you know, focused on how crazy the action choreography is. So then when it does get to a point to where you need to understand the power system to a certain degree to even understand the action that you're looking at, I can see how people who really haven't been paying as much attention as they should up until this point where the technicalities and the mechanics are so apparent in what's happening in the action, you'd go, whoa, wait a minute. This is convoluted. This feels contrived. You have all these negative things to say about it because you just weren't the kind of reader that the creator, you know, was, you know, kind of catering to at that moment, because you just didn't understand what kind of series it was entirely. That's like super ranty and like, you know, like super specific, but like that's just the vibe that I get from complaints like those, you know. So
That's fair. I think we fielded some complaints about like the Choso fight in the Shibuya arc, and they're like, how come he's not slowing down after he used all that blood? And it's like, they did state that he is a cursed creature and doesn't actually die of blood loss. Problem solved. Sorry. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
But getting into the action and choreography of this shit is fucking insane, because he goes into the hollow wicker basket and was like, I'm in a domain. Domains have sure hit techniques. He's not, you know, considering the possibility that Megumi's domain is going to behave differently than the ones that he's heard about or the ones that he's experienced himself, because it is complete, but because it doesn't feel incomplete. You know what I mean? Because he's in this stadium. All of his, you know, exits are kind of blocked, so to speak. He's in the heart of the domain, dealing with its effects, you know. So he's like, okay, it must behave, you know, like the way that I'm used to. So he goes into the hollow wicker basket, and then, you know, Megumi is just using techniques inside of the domain that aren't actually sure hits. So that's why he's like so surprised when the frog tongues come and grab his fucking ankles, because he's like, wait a minute, nah, I'm supposed to be blocking this. And then we get this information about, you know, domain amplification and the flashback to when Jogo and Hanami were 2v1ing Gojo, and how that whole kind of thing, you know, came about or whatever, and how that's going into what Megumi is doing to a certain degree, because now has the proper thought process on what's happening to him, because he's thinking about all of the things that can happen inside of barrier techniques according to his knowledge and according to his experience. And he's like, okay, I think I understand what's going on here, but it's still too late, because the clones come out and start whooping his fucking ass.
He can't move. Got your legs.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a beatdown that brutal since like Nanami and Yuji against Mahito.
Bro,
get his ass.
The clone fucking comes up and grabs his ankle and swings him towards fucking the other Megumi, who's readying like the Barry Bonds home run hit with the fucking sword.
He's aiming for the leg.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna kneecap you, man. I'm just gonna go right to the kneecap.
I thought he was like about to literally just slice this motherfucker in twain with this.
I think that was a baseball bat, legit, for real.
Oh wow. Yeah.
He's got that little sword. He's got that blunt cursed sword.
Oh, okay.
He's got that one cursed tool, and so you know that's the real Megumi.
Yeah.
But like, I just love that where he's just like, I got his leg, and he's like, I'm gonna chop it off. Let's go. Just like Reggie's fighting for his life. I love it.
Yeah.
And I like the way that each person, like, Megumi's smart enough to like. I love that both characters do the smart thing, right? Like, they react and do what is logically the smartest possible move each time, but at the same time, they're still framing things in a way that they're like, okay, I don't know how many cards this guy's gonna pull. I don't know what's in his hand. I know what I have. I'm still gonna dole out small amounts of stuff. And Reggie figures it out pretty quickly. He's like, hey man, like, why didn't you have like a bunch of tools and everything? Like, my ability lets me pull stuff out of thin air. You can too, but like, how come you don't? Because if you can, you would.
Right.
And I love that little observation and like the application of weight, because I think it's really cool because it explains simple domain, it explains domain expansion, and we also got like a huge more part of exposition in that moment where he dumps the trucks.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I figured out the secret to your shadow technique. You literally carry weight in your shadow.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh.
Right.
Oh.
And which is a great caveat for, you know, something like this, because this is really, his domain is really strong. Not only is he getting like the environmental stat buff from just being inside of his domain, but he has access to like way more techniques at the same time or in succession while he's inside of the domain. So, and domains are supposed to be like the cheat code, you know, like I win technique, you know what I mean, in general. So like they're already naturally broken, but like just seeing the things that Megumi is able to do with an incomplete domain just seems like so much, like there's so much more to it than other domains that we've seen besides maybe Gojo's, you know what I mean? So having a caveat like that be introduced to kind of offset the overpowered nature of specifically Megumi's domain, and also just re-establish the stakes of what's going on inside of this conflict just felt really good inside of this chapter, because it's like now we have more of a reason to worry because there is a weakness that can be exploited by the enemy. So now the tables have almost kind of turned a little bit in favor of Reggie, but then of course, you know, we have Megumi's, you know, final page kind of strategy here with just dropping Max Elephant on top of him and being like, all right, who can hold more weight, me or you, type shit.
From pound, just the slap. I love that, because he's like, you know what, I got really pissed off when you threw a truck at me. I'm gonna drop an elephant on you.
Type shit. It just goes back into what, you know, that Ibon Shan guy, you know, was talking about in his comment about cause and effect, and how Gege plays with it inside of the energy system. And I just couldn't agree more with that. He literally took the words right out of my mouth for this chapter.
I love that Megumi tactically chose, like, even when Nue, because he was like, oh, I need to send Nue to go get after those receipts, he sends it from the ground instead of from the ceiling, so that in case it doesn't get there in time, he doesn't lose that element of surprise. Like, the frogs come out of the ground, the Nue, the flying guy, even though it had to travel more distance, it came from the ground. And I love that kind of like, hey, focus on the ground, focus on the ground, focus on the logic, the common sense logic of like, shadows are on the ground.
It reminds me of that episode. Yes, shadows are on the ground, so that's like the logical route that most people would take as far as his manifestation. But what you were saying just a moment ago about like, look over here, you know, while I get something ready over here, you know what I mean? It reminded me of Jackie Chan Adventures, because we've been kind of bringing that up in our episodes a lot recently. I remember an episode where the grandpa's whooping. The grandpa's like whooping up some like ninjas or whatever, or whoever the enemies are, and he's just beating their ass like with straight hands. And then he gets to the last one, and he's like trying to attack Grandpa's hands or something like that, but then Grandpa kicks the fucking shit out of him, and he's like, you were so worried about my hands, but should have been watching the foot, you know what I mean, or whatever. And I was just like I just remembered that episode of like, damn, nostalgia wave. It
reminds me of, like, anytime they do that, I always think of the phrase Kansas City Shuffle from
the
movie
Lucky Number 11, like my favorite movie ever. Oh my god, dude.
Bringing back Morgan Freeman for another episode. Have you heard of the creature called the Shmoo?
Morgan Freeman, fucking Ben Kingsley, Bruce Willis, Josh Hartnett, so Lucy Liu. There's so much star power in that movie, and it's like one of the best fucking stories ever in a movie for me. If you haven't seen Lucky Number 11, go watch that shit.
It's a great
top 5 at least. Top 5 at least.
Murder comedy.
Yeah, amazing. But yeah, bro, fucking Jujutsu's crazy. I wonder how this is gonna go, right? Because it's like, okay, hold on, because we have numbers on the weight here, right?
Megumi's also carrying the weight of the cars as well as the elephant, right?
I don't know if his Shikigami count towards that weight. That was a question that I wanted to ask you guys. Like, do you think that he is? I doubt that he would put himself in a situation where he's already kind of being crushed by the weight of the cars and everything else involved. That he would add another 7 to 10 pounds of that on himself, especially when Reggie's not already experiencing any kind of like weight related detriment the same way that he is. So I doubt that his Shikigami add to that. But still, we have like an idea of how much weight he's taking here, because he's like, your current weight is approximately 2.4 tons. So that's what he's taking right now, and which is massive. But then fucking Megumi drops Max Elephant, and we don't know how much that thing weighs, but we can assume that it's relatively close to like real world elephant, which is what, like fucking somewhere between like 5 and 10 pounds. So
an Asian elephant is 8,000, almost 9,000 pounds, and an African bush elephant is 13,000 pounds.
Yikes.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking we can pretty safely assume it's probably an Asian elephant sized thing.
Sure.
Yeah. You know? But still, that's a lot of weight.
Right. So like, even though Megumi is kind of dealing with all of this weight, like the weight isn't, I wonder how that feels for him, right? Like, is it like a weight that he feels like on his like soul, like internally, or is it like a physical weight that he can feel on his shoulders and his head and his back? You know what I mean? Like, because the way that he's not feeling the weight the same way Reggie is, I promise you. Like, he literally just dropped an entire elephant on the top of him. So he's got to deal with that in a more relatable way. And Megumi, even though he's holding up a lot of weight too, it's probably not the same kind of pressure.
I wonder if he's
on him
dispersing it, because like 2
right,
tons would squish me like a bug.
Right.
2 tons would squish me like a bug. And then I feel like he's somehow dispersing the weight through his curse technique. Sure. And so like it's probably the weight of it is like eating up his ability to maintain his spell, right? Like it's like probably burning up his reserves, just weighing down on him. He's just like, I gotta exert more energy to maintain my spell because this is happening. I don't know. I feel like it has to be accounted for, but he's not outright crushed with 2.3 tons. So like I feel like it's different. I think that like the weight and mass of Max Elephant exists, but for the like certain frames of video game purposes, like Fallout, it doesn't count towards your weight limit. It doesn't count towards your over encumbrance, because to you it is a shadow conjured out of your energy.
Oh sure. Yeah. But to Reggie, it's like an actual element.
It's a whole 8.8
Another good example would be like, I guess, the bound weapons in Skyrim, if you've ever played that. Elder
I haven't
Scrolls.
done Skyrim, no.
There's a casting spell that allows you to conjure weapons, and it's not like you're carrying the weight of those weapons, but you can still conjure them at any point in time. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how bottle caps and gold isn't counted as weight.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing like hardcore survival mode and stuff. Like ammo doesn't cost weight, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's the way I view it. Just immaculate choreography in this fight. Megumi is just getting harder and harder, and like the part where he goes a little, like he always goes out, like pops off and gets a little unhinged, he just becomes more and more like Toji. He's just becoming more and more of a fight beast.
18.
Yeah. Looks like a fucking demon with that grin, that like smile. Toji. Yeah. Looks like a fucking maniac. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
So cool.
Yeah, I think that's about all I had for Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and get right into chapter 225 of Dr. Stone.
Stony.
Dakingu. Hell yeah. So this was a very tense chapter.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting there to be tensions like this on the way there. I don't know why. It makes so much sense. It makes all the sense in the world that they would have complications after launch.
Just to kind of fill in the gap of it, you know, buff a couple chapters out so that, you know, when we get to the moon, Boichi and Riichiro Inagaki are really about to
turn up the butt clench to unheard of levels. So you need a little clench in the meantime. I love that.
Man, I think it's crazy because like it. Oh, guys, did you ever see? I know we reference a lot of movies in here, but I think media is fluid and transparent. Everything references everything. The Martian. With Matt Damon.
Right? No, I haven't. I tried to start that. I tried to start that shit like 3 times, and I've always fallen
I have
asleep.
seen that one.
I haven't seen the whole thing either, but like the concept
he has to
in
colonize that little base on Mars and stuff.
Yeah. So wait, what's the reference? My bad. Or what's the link?
So like the idea is like in space, anything can go wrong. It's a very delicate system, and you have to improvise. And like the smallest malfunction can like ruin your life. Getting up there is the hard part, but also making sure that everything was built right the first time without any human error, without any technical error. There's so many moving parts in it, and like the perilous like outer space survival series is straight up scarcity horror, right? The idea that like the scarcity of things break, but they can't. We only have so many parts. We don't have any spares. The oxygen we have is limited. The water we have is limited.
And there could be some things that break that you don't have the equipment to fix while you're up there, which is like
do
something
we have
that
supplies to repair?
Yeah.
We don't have the tools to repair this stuff. Let's go. Like I think that's huge. Like this could have taken a massive horror turn where they're like, we're thirsty. It's been like day 3. we're finally getting things on lock. But like our combat ability is severely impaired by the time we face whatever's on Y-Man's moon base.
Right, because
Just
of the
like,
stress of the trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, big butt clench right away on page 2 and 3 when they realize that they cannot hear the incoming radio signal from the ground. That would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Isolation, man.
Shit they're saying, yeah, isolation. At least, and you don't know that they can still hear you.
Yeah.
Even
right,
because,
exactly.
Like, they can't communicate that.
But I feel like you would. I feel like an astronaut would still operate under the assumption that they could, just in case. But that would still just be like so fucking scary. Oh my god! And then to go into the panel of them just floating, like right after that realization is had, just like adds to the fucking tension. Like adds to the heart bit or the heartbeat skips. Yeah.
I love sci-fi, but like to me, being in outer space would probably be the scariest shit ever.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. It's just like so final. It's so like you just have so many less answers to anything, you know, that can go wrong, kind of like we've been talking about the whole time, basically, this review, but yeah, there's just so many things.
This situation with Yo's hair is like,
oh my god, I was like, fuck, dude.
I'm so confused about this because, like, it's separated from him. How is it still, like,
being petrified?
It's organic.
Because it's still organic and from, you know, a species that is targeted with the Medusa, right? Like, I want to assume...
dead, though.
Right, sure, it is dead. It is dead.
But
so all hair is dead. Would the Medusa even petrify, like, a dead human?
But, like, yeah, we know that it can because of the last arc.
True. But I thought that was like within a certain time proximity.
This is probably within that time proximity.
Man, that's really weird. So that means if people died within like a week or a month of being petrified, would that like bring their body back to like a more pristine physical state, or would it merely just undo the rotten decay that occurred within that week?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, that's like the big question ever since the last arc, because we knew for a fact that Hyoga was absolutely dead by the time that he got petrified, but like the amount of time wasn't that long, so you would just instantly have to start asking, like, well, how long can they be dead? Yeah.
What's their figurative expiration date? Yeah. Where they're just like, you are dead, and you've rotted too much. It can undo enough to make your corpse pretty, but like, what is that? Plus, like the actual hair stuff. Most of it's like your nails and stuff. It's dead cells already.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they can trace stuff in your hair. Like people can like isolate vitamins that you have, or like they use it for drug tests which last like 2 months, so like, you know, you can find stuff in your hair and be able to chemically track it within 2 months. So maybe it's a hair from 2 months ago or like a month and a half ago, and it's still recognizable as like something that the Medusa can affect.
Right.
Yeah. Hard to say. But like they don't have like a specific date. There's no calendar on the wall in the background, so it's like, you know, probably recent enough.
Yeah, that made sense to me. Like I definitely did think about it for a second, and then it was like,
that tracks.
Like literally, the conversation we had was the conversation I had with myself in my mind when I read the chapter.
Yeah.
I said all the things you did. Like, wait, it's like separate and dead, and I was like, oh wait, but you can bring dead people back. Yeah. But yeah, dude.
But yeah, basically sends the whole electrical situation in their part of the spaceship off, and
but they can't continue the docking.
They're like, what the fuck are we gonna do? I mean, they could, but they're totally blind.
Right.
You know. And then the guy comes up.
Yeah, how do we feel about Ryusui being what they said it was like a stowaway or something?
No, not a stowaway. He I think did this totally on purpose.
Okay.
You know, like...
So he was originally just going to surprise them with him coming, because he definitely had a spacesuit made for him secretly, right?
Maybe he did stow away. But I don't know. I guess I figured, like, since, you know, on page 14, he's, like, at the console, like, knowing he's got to steer the shit into there, you know... like, he basically kind of takes control of the docking situation, you know?
Right.
So I figure his captain's instinct just kind of somehow let him know, like, oh, they're in trouble up there. They might not, you know...
I feel like Xeno
but, like, launching anything is, like, a whole thing. Like, there's...
a whole production.
Yeah,
like,
it's like you can't just...
car.
You can't just secretly jump in a, you know, in a pod and press a button and zoom up without anybody really
this ain't
knowing.
The Last Son of Krypton, like... Yeah. No, I mean, I think that Xeno would have known, and
Xeno knows. Like, everybody down there knows. Everyone down there knows, like, what's going on. Except for Gin. Well, maybe not everybody, but, like, a lot of people know what's happening right now, because someone had to make him the fucking spacesuit, and then they had to launch him. He's not in a spacesuit. But
he's just like Captain Harlock.
So what? Dude, he does look like Harlock.
Dude, that's what I was focused on.
But no, okay. Like, so if he doesn't have 12, a suit, 13? He's gonna stay.
Like, he does look like Harlock.
He does, but no, I didn't notice that at first. But like, that's totally the Harlock vibes right now. But no. So if he doesn't have a spacesuit, so then he's just gonna stay in the whip.
I think they're gonna petrify him.
Well, sure, that has to happen too. Yeah. I would say eventually, but I'm talking about like once they get on the moon, he's not going to join them like on the moon. He's gonna have to stay on the ship.
Yeah, he's the getaway driver. I think he's gonna stay on the ship.
Sure, okay.
Because he doesn't have the suit. Like, it wouldn't make sense for him to. They're like, hey, there was a second idea. We weren't sure if we were gonna implement it, but like Xeno's like, I have some intuition. I want to send you. We didn't have enough supplies for a spaceship, but here's a small Medusa. Here's some things. We have these materials. We can get you up there and do the part that you are meant to do. But, like, Stanley needs to do the combat stuff. We don't have the materials to, like, last minute make you a suit or anything like that. Yeah. I feel like that was kind of the whole conversation for them off screen.
It's really not conducive to, like, unpetrify somebody in this spaceship anyway. This is just random, but, like... Now you got little bits of tiny little pieces of stone floating around everywhere in this zero gravity situation, just potentially getting into places where
filtration system, tear that up. Any like sensitive like membrane type things or like foam filters or anything like that, just shred it all up.
I didn't think about that, but they have to have, right?
I think it might.
I wonder what you do to even like deal with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be. I think that's going to be tension for sure. That we're going to have to like revisit, like maybe a couple chapters later. They're like, "Hey, we're leaving," and they're like,
"Oh,
and
wait!
Now our air filter is like fucked up because of the stone fragments. Now we have to do this other improvisational thing to like return to Earth safely without running out of air."
Because they're in the space suits, and then they're petrified. And then their revival fluid, technique or whatever has to be happening inside of the suit. So then all of the fragments just stay in the suit, and then you take it off and you're just careful.
The first time though, they weren't in the suits. I don't think.
I mean, yeah,
they walked out in the suits. You know what I mean? I remember them wearing it, getting onto the. Hold on, let me go back to the last chapter.
True. No, because they did that little like spacewalk thing that the Apollo 13 movie kind of thing. They had the uniform strut.
They were definitely petrified in the suits because Senku. We have a panel of him literally getting out of it as he wakes up. Last chapter.
Oh, that's good.
So they don't have to. Yeah, I knew. I was like, they have to have accounted for that.
All contained within the suits.
Yeah, all contained within the suits. Good shit.
Rishway has some like great levity. Like I think that he naturally is like by being so gregarious, like really kind of returned that tension back to like relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He withstood exit velocity.
I'm trying to like look at the reactions of people after the Ryusui reveal. And like,
Zeno's just smiling.
You could tell that just in their dialogue, like it feels like they already knew he was going. Like, they all knew this shit. Yeah.
They're all cheering and shit. All the side characters on page 13, side panel on the double spread.
Oh, yep.
And Zeno's smiling, you know.
Yeah. And then the next page, it's like Sai is just like speaking casually as if he's not surprised that he's up there. Like no one seems like, what? When did he? You know, like it just
those
seems
are
like
his first words in space.
Yeah.
He never changes.
Yeah.
Francois just being like, yes.
That was my guy, his dream, his being fulfilled. Man, I feel like, does this take away from
the choice?
Well, like, yeah, like, because, like, those were, like, that was an amazing chapter for Ryusui when he came to terms with the fact that Stanley had to go and not him. You know what I mean? Like, that was, like, a big thing in the story, at least, you know, for me and obviously for Ryusui and everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that was, like, a massive character chapter, a stronger one. And their character writing is always great in Dr. Stone, no matter what, but that was a really potent one. You know what I mean? And then, like, how many chapters later, he's, like, out here anyway, and it like makes sense, and I'm sure that they have like a plan for it or whatever, but just at first it was like so jarring to see him. I was like, really? After all that?
I was really surprised.
Yeah, I was
genuinely very surprised. Because you know, I thought the choice was very significant and was like not reversible. You know, I thought it meant something permanent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Dr. Stone doesn't always show like the active passage of time, so like they may have been in the dark, cut comms for a while, and the whole team is just scrambling like, okay.
And Ryusui's like, yo, send me up with the next one. I'll figure it out. And they're like,
we're already planning to launch that thing, so
yeah, like last second, like he was just like, I'll go help, you know what I mean, type shit. I'm sure we'll get a flashback or something like that.
Yeah. I feel like that's how my brain has justified it, and
that feels really good. I like that a lot. I'm glad that I brought that up because I definitely hadn't thought about it like that before.
Dude.
Yeah, we end the chapter with the merging of Ryusui's the fourth piece or the third piece, and is that the complete ship, or do they have one more coming in?
I thought it was 5 pieces.
I think that is 5.
Yeah, because there's a left and a right. Yeah,
left, right, up, down, the whole cross, and then like the cross section, the little X part.
Yeah,
the joint. I fucking cackled when I saw 1617 and he was doing the human reaction wheel, and he's just like, I'm throwing my body around.
The human gyro.
It's like, how are you doing this? I'm gonna yeet myself 360 a couple times and go. He's driving like this. I'm just like, man.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's wild. I think
I love that Senku hits the fucking E = MC squared on his shirt, like the most like hype driving ending possible. It's like ka-chung, ka-chung, everything's good. He's like, all right, let's do this. Boom, put the equation on my shirt so you know it's real type shit. Yeah. It's so fucking sick. But yeah, I'm good on
shirt with that shit.
Yeah, I'm good on Dr. Stone for sure.
Me too.
All right, yeah, me too. Alrighty, well, with that, I think we can go ahead and jump right into chapter 340 of My Hero Academia. And the name of this chapter is I Am Lacking This Week. What the fuck?
At the very end, the way we all became heroes, part 3.
The story of how we all became heroes, part 3. And this chapter, I don't know how to feel about this chapter.
I love this chapter, at least in the beginning. I like how, even though we don't know the entirety of the plan, obviously, because they want to save that for the actual conflict, we still get this war room kind of discussion. That is just like always one of my favorite scenes whenever we're going into something crazy, is like everybody who matters sitting down and going, this is what we're looking at, moving pieces on the board and discovering or deciding exactly how they're going to move. I just always love that scene. And Kohei's like really good at this kind of stuff, just naturally. Yeah. So I love the beginning of the chapter for that reason. Because it's like, man, as soon as All Might's like, whether we're talking about Plan A or Plan B, what we have to do, no matter what, is, and I'm just like, oh, what's Plan A and Plan B though? Like, do we know that? Like, no, like, we gotta wait for that. But like, shit.
One of my favorite moments early on in the chapter was when Ragdoll is talking. And Hawks and her are kind of going back and forth. And she's like, oh, taking every precaution, but come on, still. You know, I sure wish Ryoko could be here. And Hawks is like, oh, sorry, they're not here. It's not like we doubt their loyalty or anything. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going along with it. So funny.
I just like that he just goes with it because like Hawks is just a very easing dude, and he's just like, you know what, fuck it, yeah.
Get along with anybody type dude.
Yeah, he's a good vibe.
Yeah.
Man, I love Ragdoll's civilian outfit. Like, it's very like, it's very classy. It's a little chic. I like the belt. Like the belt buckle's kind of cute. I'm like, this is like a top streetwear.
Yeah.
Everyday wear outfit for them. Like, I like that. And I like how in My Hero, they're so good about that. Like, this seems like fitting for the kind of person that they happen to be. And like, or age demographic they are. Because like the Wild Wild Pussycats are kind of older.
Yeah. I love the divide and conquer strategy for what they're talking about right now. Because it's like, man, you think about it and it's like, yeah, that brings us to like the most convenient shonen, kind of situation that we all, like kind of, have come to expect from the demographic up until this point. So it's like, oh yeah, we're all going to split into like basically like, 1v1, almost 1v1 kind of situations. And it's like, that's right on time because it's like the last conflict was just an all out war with pieces all over the chessboard, splashing into each other, in big waves all the time. So like having the conflict this time for this war be split apart and kind of isolated tactically, it makes a lot of sense because of how much time they kind of have had to like plan for this one. The last one, the information came kind of quick and they had to react, like right away. Basically, they didn't really, they didn't have time to come up with a strategy like this. So it just all feels really good.
I love that because it logically, I like it because like it does have the classic trope, but logically frames it, and then it'll really reminisce to like one of my favorite times of My Hero Academia, which was like the training arc. The like not the training arc. It was when like the kids were being paired up and fighting the teachers. Right? So like when like Tokiyami,
I think that's the license exam, right?
Asui were fighting Ectoplasm. The guy that could clone himself. I really liked that. And they're like, hey, we're preparing you to fight people that you may not have a good quirk matchup against. And so I was like, yes, this is what they were trained to do. Like, I like that kind of looping back to that style, that moment.
Yeah.
To me, it's very satisfying story-wise.
Oh, yeah.
I also really dig Dr. Dinosaur. Where is he?
I saw that.
He's hiding. But he was there with...
He's on 9.
Yes. Page 9, yeah. Dr. Dinosaur, Yoshi MD. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yoshi MD.
Yoshi MD.
I'm fucking dead. I'm fucking
Dr. Dinosaur, Yoshi
MD. Took me the fuck out, bro.
But you want a Reptar bar? After you're dead.
No, you need to talk to Dr. Reptar in pediatrics.
I didn't even notice this dude.
Yeah,
dude, I don't know. He's in the episode where Endeavor is talking to his family and his wife shows up at the hospital.
Oh,
Dr. Dinosaur is in the background there. He's the one like taking care of Endeavor.
Dr. Dinosaur's wife shows up?
No, Endeavor's wife.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, yeah, right.
No, that's not an elaborate side character. No, I was just there.
I was like, wait, what?
I just
Dr. Dinosaur's wife. Where's she?
Did I miss a whole Dr. Dinosaur arc, like mini arc going? It's like,
why didn't you say something? Like, where was this chapters ago? No, but he's a great like background guy that they've tied into like that location, and I just like that.
Yeah.
I love the minor background characters like Manuel.
Yeah.
That guy that like made Eraserhead's eyes wet the Gigantomachia fight. Oh man.
Ida's intern. Or Ida's internship, that's who he did his internship with.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Taught him how to be a calm, collected hero, I guess. I don't know.
I love the scene with Aoyama and Aizawa. I think that this shit was so well done visually, and in the dialogue, in the exchange is just like all so good. It's just reinforcing Aoyama's position on the mistake that he made, and like Aizawa kind of, you know, not wanting to sugarcoat anything, you know what I mean, and just like giving him the raw, you know what I mean, like, hey, you suck. You know you suck. We all know you suck. We still fuck with you though, but like the one thing that you have to do to make up for this is what is expected of you right now. And I know that you have anxiety about like what you'll do when you're faced with All for One again, but like even though you fucked up and everyone knows it, like people were still trying to ride for you. So use that as a strength to get the damn job done. And like I said, like I didn't fucking expel you, so feel as shitty as you need to, but then let's get this money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just love it.
We almost feel like, you know, Aizawa probably has a soft spot for him in this situation, especially because
of Kurogiri.
Like, isn't this conversation like kind of juxtaposed in a big way for Aizawa with the conversation with Kurogiri?
Yes,
I think that's why they flash back to him there for a second.
They're both people just that have been toyed with by All for One, you know, given quirks by All for One, and fucking have lost themselves to him.
Yeah,
so I think especially for Aizawa, this probably hits home in a different kind of way.
Yeah. And this panel on 13 when he's like, because none of the lessons I teach my students are about living a life burdened by guilt. As ashamed and despicable as you feel, you will walk alongside the friends who still reach out to you. And it being just them, like no background whatsoever. They don't even draw the restraint wraps that Aoyama has, you know, like wrapped around because they just want you to see the characters. You know what I mean? Like it's just them, you know, and like that shit hits so hard visually for me with the dialogue too. And then going into the fucking Kurogiri like little panel there too. It's just like so fire. Kohei's really good at this kind of thing.
Kohei is masterful.
Aoyama actually looks good in those pages. Design wise, he looks good. Like 12, 13, and like especially 14. I'm like, man, he actually looks really solid. Normally, I'm like, you have the dumbest design. I hate.
Yeah, get out of my face.
Get off
but like,
I knew you were gonna say that. I was waiting for like, wait a minute. Aoyama slander.
Steve Buscemi, you know, he's got a weird face.
Yeah, straight up.
Fargo, yeah.
He'll hit you with the naval saber.
Hit me with any other technique besides the naval saber, bro. Like, just shoot me with the beam.
He hits me with the naval saber. I'm gonna call HR.
You gotta have a strongly worded sword fight with your belly button, like.
Yeah.
We had a chapter called docking, and you know, naval saber is somehow worse.
Yo, chill! Oh my god.
Docking.
Holy shit.
No, it's good though.
But, big Spidey vibes. Okay, go ahead.
Huge Spidey vibes from Shinso.
For Shinso? Yeah, absolutely. Fuck yeah. No, that's real good. I wonder how his quirk will interact with All for One and Shigaraki.
I think that'll be really fun. It might
I figure that's why he's here, right? Like that's, you know, to kind of.
I think that plus they isn't Eraserhead still kind of like off active duty?
Oh sure, yeah.
So they need someone to suppress others. Yeah. So like
they need that crowd control.
I want him to be like on Dabi and like speaking in Endeavor's voice, mocking him.
Yo.
I want to see that happen because Dabi's such a piece of shit.
But like no, like think of the situation though. Like Shinso like pulls up on Shigaraki, says something to him, he responds, locks him down, but then All for One just takes over instead of Shigaraki, and now like does it still affect the body or does it affect the soul or the mind?
I think that because the way they're intermingled and it's not keyed off like specific names like Stars and Stripes, I think it would take hold and then he'd try to shift. But so if we're doing like the Bleach thing and saying you're the king of the horse, right? Yeah. Even though you've swapped places, the horse still has like a level of that ability affecting it. And so I feel like his movements, like if he says freeze, he'll still be able to move and do things, but his range of motion will be like a little limited, or like his movements will be jerky, like he's fighting through it, like he'd be able to move, but like it'd be like trying to run through water a little bit for him. Or maybe they'll say don't use your quirk, and then it's just Shigaraki's quirk, right? Like All For One doesn't use his stockpile of quirks, and then it's just Shigaraki using his quirk because he didn't answer, but they're still viewed as the same person. So I feel like there'd be limited effects on them.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be some cool writing too. Is if like when the heat is on and they're actually like face to face with each other and the quirks are, you know, working or whatever, we get some kind of, you know, dialogue breakdown of exactly why this situation is different technically, you know, than the situation with like Shinso and Deku, for example. Because it's like, I don't know, it seems to have like a different effect already just on people that have access to, you know, vestige spaces, period. You know what I mean? Like that was when he used his quirk against Deku in the sports festival. That was like the first time that we got a glimpse into the previous inheritors, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like that moment triggered that link. You know what I mean? Like that, the effect of Shinso's quirk, you know, created that situation inside of Deku's mind. You know what I mean? So, or inside of his vestige
so
space.
Deep into your subconscious.
Yeah. So like it already, I'm pretty, like Shin's, like that's gonna be a thing that like we're gonna get the answer to this question, and like I'm really excited
like it's
about
gonna be that, and then maybe add the wrinkle of, because Shigaraki and All For One are still not truly unified in purpose and at odds with each other, it'd be interesting to see if like Shinzo gets them to answer, it sends them deep into their subconscious, similar to like where we had that scene where the quirks are tearing each other apart in Stars and Stripes Revenge. It's in that kind of like mind space, and Shigaraki says like, nope, I'm in charge now. Yeah. Like, so I think that'd be interesting to like have them use that quirk interaction to like seize control from the other. So I think that might happen in that section.
I'm ready to, like, that's like the most interesting point now for me in the story, is like how Shinso is going to interact with Shigaraki and All For One. Like, I'm definitely hyped to see like the fights and everything leading up, and all the character writing and whatnot is gonna be great, I'm sure. But like that's like the one thing in the back of my mind now that's like, man, when we get that, that's gonna be fucking sick, you know?
Hell yeah.
I like that Shinzo is basically just the next generation's Eraserhead. It's just fantastic. Like, because like Eraserhead's been like in so many fights, and it's all about like a new generation replacing the old, and like,
and they have similar power sets, right? So it's like,
and I was like, finally, like this has been like a huge payoff being built up for like
in the background, super subtly and slowly. I love it.
I'm just like, yes. Very satisfying, very punchy. I don't think you guys have read this one, but it's by a different author and different artist, but it's within the same IP, My Hero Vigilantes. That one, spoiler alert, explores Kurogiri's like origin.
I knew that. Yeah, I remember when we were covering those chapters, someone brought it up. Yeah,
I think that's like the way that they've been operating, like with the flashbacks here. It seems canon, right? So I feel like this author worked in collaboration with Horikoshi to like.
I'm pretty sure it is canon. I heard that all that shit was, because you got like Stain, you got like the Stain origin almost in there. You got like origin. It's all of that
really good. It's nearing its climax, so you guys.
Oh wow, for real? It's like ending.
They've had like a really climactic fight.
Oh wow!
Like it feels like the beginning of the end of the series, or if it like might be the final fight. It's cool. Going balls to the wall right now, but they do cover that stuff, and so I like that, and I think that for me, reading that helps me be a little more moved by the scene in 12 and 13, where he's just like, "Hey, man, there's gonna be people reaching out to you."
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because like MC and Eraserhead were both trying to reach out to Kurogiri, and they're like, "Hey man, like I know you're fucked up, but like Is
Present Mike. Oh, okay.
Present Mike, yeah.
Okay, you said MC, and I was like, Deku wasn't there.
I was blanking on his name for a second.
Yeah, Present Mike, yeah.
Yeah, Present Mike, and they were just like, hey man, is there anything left of our friend in there? And it's just like, man, like that really resonates with Aoyama's position. He's like, are they my friends? Like, am I their friend still? Like, is there a friend in me to like be worth reaching back? And I like that. It's beautiful.
It's real good. Love this chapter, man. Everything leading into this has just been so good for me.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all I had on.
This Aoyama mini arc is definitely slapping.
Yeah, for sure. What's up though?
Surprisingly, I love the doodles that All Might makes for his like magnet board.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah,
it's adorable. And
I said that shit too. I was like, yeah, that's really cool. That's creative.
It's
like
minimalist.
Yeah, it's very minimalist, but it's like everything you
effective.
Need.
Yeah, it's like the Dr. Stone thing where like, hey, you conveyed a lot with a very little. Let's go.
Yeah, hell yeah. But that's all I had for Hero.
That's the Shigaraki one right there, the hand at that angle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Love it.
That's all I had for my Hero as well. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and get into the last chapter of the night, the Piece de Resistance, chapter 1037 of One Piece. Drunken Dragon Bagua. Yeah. And we also start off with this little cover story, where I forgot we're in the Germa cover story.
Yeah, so did I.
Germa 66's an Emotionless Excursion, Volume 2. Judge Size. And we got Judge here chilling with Ichiji and Reiju.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, cool. Wait, isn't this like the... Isn't this during their escape from Big Mom, right? That's what this is telling?
This is after. Like, this is probably just right now,
Oh. Okay, I could have sworn that we were.
Because like they're not,
I guess I just assumed we were going to get that story in this cover story.
Oh yeah, with all the snail ships evacuating.
Yeah, because
like we got Reiju's leg. It looks like a little kind of scraped up, bandaged up here.
Yeah, and there's like shit on fire in the background and shit too.
Yeah.
So I guess I originally interpreted this as like them like sighing, as in like, man, Big Mom's coming to fuck our shit up right now. And not just like them chilling in present time, but I guess I really just assumed from the last cover chapter, or last chapter cover, that we were just going to be told that story of what happened immediately following Whole Cake Island.
Maybe.
I don't know. I like it. They're just chill, and they're like, I like it's just because like an emotional excursion, and then like someone sighs, and I feel like for me that's a very emotional thing to do because it's just like.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it ennui? It's just like, you guys feel a little something. Right. Frustration maybe, but like something.
Yeah.
And then moving right into the actual events of the chapter, we start off with like this chapter is pretty much all Luffy and Kaido shit.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, yes, beautiful. We get choreography, lots of Luffy and Kaido stuff. But like, how do you feel about this drunken Kaido shit?
I think it's fine. I think
it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't know, man. Because it's like, okay, so he gets drunk, and you're like, oh, now he's like not going to be as effective or whatever, or he's weakening himself so that Luffy can beat him or whatever. But then it says away. I just
thought his dialogue was way more interesting when he wasn't like drunk.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is cool. If on that front, like I didn't have like an issue with that. I just like automatically just attributed your you bringing it up because of the power, like the power difference that it might have. So yeah, if that's not what it is, then whatever. But I'm like always just ready to combat like the power scaling, like arguments and discourse that I see, because it's like he says right here, it's like I wouldn't make myself weaker. Like don't be dumb. Like I'm totally fine. And I think we can take that at face value, and like that's just Oda letting us know like it's okay. This isn't like him nerfing himself so that Luffy can win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just he's annoying. I'm like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like,
yeah, going through all the stages of drunkenness.
Like
yeah.
I mean, he's a chatty drunk. Sorry, he's just cool dude, chatty drunk. It happens.
At least it's consistent. Like he's been getting faded in combat. You know what I mean? Like pretty much the entire time that we've seen him in this arc. He was his original first confrontation with Luffy was drunk. He's been drinking, and I think it ties back into just how he feels emotionally going through the arc. Like this is a big. Like, a lot is weighing on this man right now, and if he really is, like, an alcoholic like that, then, like, it makes perfect sense that he would be drinking himself through this.
I mean, he also, like, it's just one of those things that he enjoys. Like, he likes drinking, he likes fighting, he likes winning. Like, he's just that kind of, like, overindulgent kind of person. Yeah. Like, they have the whole feasting thing, whereas the rest of the country starves, and they're just like, this is the thing. We're gonna do it. We're gonna live the life.
Yeah. Because but, like, a lot of the psychological shit, too, like, probably has a lot to do, you know, with his drinking, because it's like, man, it's like, not only did you get ambushed, you weren't expecting that. You weren't expecting the ambush to be that effective. All of the fucking scabbards were on your shit, hurting you in ways you never thought they could. They were reminiscent of fucking Odin, who you already have, like, you know, PTSD traumas for. You know, and then a motherfucker pulls up with that dude's sword and cuts the shit out of you, which I'm sure was, you know...
not ideal.
Yeah, you know, like, there's a lot. He's been going through it emotionally and psychologically. Like, then you have, like, the fucking Yamato shit. And like his people are
my child rejected me.
Yeah, he could probably tell that his people are getting their ass whooped down there because they're not up here yet, type shit. You know what I mean? There's like this motherfucker's going through it probably.
Oh man, I kind of liked it because remember Jin from Yu Yu Hakusho during the Dark Tournament? He had the tornado fist.
The wind power, yeah.
Yeah. Chu, there he was. His name was Chu.
Chu was the drunk one, yeah. Knife edge death match, yep.
Yes, I love that. So, like, for me, I was like, okay, yeah, crusty, hardcore, older guy, warrior guy, getting drunk because he just likes it. And the idea that, like, you know, like, when you do drink, you do get looser. You do get looser when you drink. You're not held back by a lot more hesitations. And, like, Haki... they said his haki was swelling and like getting better, and it's almost like he's using the alcohol to kind of like cleanse his like doubts or like the impurities
and reinforce his will.
Yeah, like he's strengthening and focusing his will. Like it's used like a crystal for prism for light. It's just condensing it.
And when you're drunk,
he's not thinking about other stuff.
Yeah, when you're drunk, like when you're really drunk like that, you're like, you have like, tunnel vision for a specific thing a lot of the time. And like, it's literally just your will, like guiding your decision making. Like when you're really faded like that, like you don't think about rational anything, logical anything. It's just desire.
You know, and then he's all limber. He's just like, okay, I don't hurt as much, you know. First painkiller was whiskey, so like,
that's a really cool way to look at that.
Yeah.
But the choreography is insane, bro. He rushes him with the Bagui, backflips over that shit, lands on it, kicks him in the fucking chin, goes to follow up, gets grabbed by the tail, slammed into the headbutt. The headbutts don't even touch because of the Conqueror's hockey. Like, that shit's so drastic. And I always like feel like to be on Twitter, bro. Like, I know he's like not or whatever, but maybe he is. I don't fucking know what he's doing. But like, right when people start complaining about choreography in One Piece, like in droves, he drops a banger choreography chapter. He's like, "Oh yeah, all right, watch this."
Shut up. Silence, peasants.
Yeah.
No, I love that because like on 8-9, Luffy just like plants himself firmly and then back kicks him just like a donkey, dude. Just like a kick to the head by a horse.
It's gonna go so stupid in the anime. Oh my god.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're seemingly just at this, you know, Luffy and Kaido focus section of the arc now, and it's like, man, this is what we've been fucking waiting for. Like 1v1 Yonko fight, like top to bottom, like it's here, like it's about to be, like we're going towards the end of the arc actually, and it's like, man, I wonder how we'll feel about this fight compared to like a fight like Katakuri versus Luffy when it's all said and done.
That's in the anime as well.
Yeah, in the anime as well too. Like I'm really interested in like post Wano discussions, really, because I just want the arc to end, because this has been like such a headache to follow inside of One Piece community. But like also just because it's like, man, it means so much after this. The story changes just so insanely, especially with all of like the narrative build up to like more vague and like mysterious things. Yeah, especially at the end of this chapter, we get a little bit of that too, which is wild.
Oh man,
like we're really about to see the fall of Ayanko right now.
I know, like that's like so crazy to like think about. That's
it hasn't even fully set in, bro.
Yeah,
like, I'm literally sitting here, like, damn, looking at this panel of Luffy kicking Kaido and his shit, like.
Like, we here.
We're really about to see a young go fall right now. Like, damn, bruh.
Yeah. He shoots the hyper beam. He fucking jumps over it, like, loads up the rock gatling into the fucking Kondali dragon swarm. That panel is so insane. That clash is so fucking well drawn, dude. Like, all of the impacts.
Hell yeah.
Oh, man.
I like the transition, too, on those, like, last few double spreads. Starting at, like... Oh, shit. Like, starting at, like, 10, 11, right?
Yeah.
It starts, like, it's more or less like the classic 2-page spread.
Mm-hmm.
And then it starts veering off into the Gatling, where it's, like, off-center and more of a full screen. I was like, all right, like a gradual transition with the framing. And I was like, that's nice. My favorite part was the little old man at the beginning who was just like, this is the one day of the year I get to drink. I'm gonna talk shit.
Oh, yeah. And they're like, yo, chill, Orochi.
And they're like, hey, secret police, you know, we gotta watch out. Yeah. And it's like, nah, I don't give a fuck. That guy sucks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. He said, nah, I don't give a fuck. That guy sucks. So, I think we gotta talk about the elephant in the room here.
Hey, I see what you did there.
The last part of the chapter.
Yeah.
We move into Mary Joie.
Yeah. And
I'm just gonna say this, like, entire 2 pages worth of dialogue here, because it's just like,
yeah, do it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, do it up.
We move to Sacred Mary Joie, red line. This year's reverie is simply accursed. Oh yeah, let it go already. It's what is unfolding in Wano that makes matters pressing now. Who could have imagined the battle would become this intense? If we strike, it should be now. I presume we have Nico, Robin, and custody already. They think that, whatever. So the ships are waiting near Wano. There's a huge shadow up ahead. What was it? Dara, I don't know, an island. Zo, no, that's impossible. That fruit. It's just so weird how this fucking conversation flows, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the nameless fruit.
Stars, the Gorosei, they're saying there is a nameless fruit. The dialogue is, the fruit is only a legend now, even to us. It has not awakened for centuries.
Yeah.
Upon centuries.
Yeah.
And then another one of the Gorosei, then why would the government bother to give that one specific devil fruit another name?
Yeah.
It's to erase that fruit's name from the annals of history, isn't it? So.
Yeah, the conversation moves so weird because it's like they know what they're talking about and we
They're
don't.
speaking in codes on purpose, yeah.
Well, like, no, they're just speaking as if like everyone in the room knows what the fuck. Like we jumped into the middle of a conversation. Yeah, there is a little bit of a time, and there is a little bit of a break in time as well. Yeah.
I wonder what the elephant is.
That's Zunisha.
Zo.
Zunisha?
Mm-hmm. Zunisha is the giant elephant with Zo on its back, and he like. I think Zunisha is a girl, is what they said. I think they use she for her. But yeah, she fucking fucks up Jack.
Fuck out of Jack.
Yeah, Jack and his ships. Like at the end of the Zo arc, she like sunk all of Jack's ships. Yeah.
So, what the fuck is this fruit? Is it Luffy's fruit? Is it Law's fruit? Is it a fruit we don't know about yet? Does Zunisha have a fruit, and that's what they're talking about? Is it the fruit of the person who gave Zunisha their order?
Yeah.
Is Uranus a fruit that they changed the name of Uranus?
I remember thinking it was like the Gomu originally, like in your live reaction. I think I said that, and that was just like the first thing that came to mind, like when they said. You know, because I read the scan too, and there's even like different wording in the scan or whatever. But then when you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, no, it's got to be a fruit that no one knows about, that they're trying to keep from people from knowing about or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen good arguments that it could be Luffy's fruit, but the best argument I've seen against it is probably that in the canon, Oda, like it's been stated in the story, by Oda, you know, just through dialogue, that When a person eats the devil fruit, they'll know its name, and that Luffy just isn't the type of person to hide the real name of his devil fruit. So, casually in conversation at some point in time, somebody would have said the name of the devil fruit, and he'd be like, "No, it's actually this."
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
that's
and that to me, I'm like,
yeah, that checks. That
yeah,
checks
I mean, okay. What was that part? How many decades it was before it regenerated?
Oh no, I think the fruit can regrow pretty much right away, right?
Yeah, but they were talking about something hasn't.
It hasn't awakened for centuries upon centuries. So the people have had the fruit, but nobody's been able to awaken it for hundreds and hundreds of years.
I wonder.
I'm guessing since the Void Century, 900 years, whatever.
Makes you wonder what kind of power that is, because we have powers that are like really powerful, just absolutely like consequential, like the magma, the ice, Marco being able to turn into a phoenix, Blackbeard's like weird void shadow magic. What kind of stuff is that? Like, it's not. Is it a Zoan? Is it elemental? Is it more of an abstract ability?
What if it's just the devil fruit, like the original devil fruit?
Yeah, it's the devil fruit.
Yeah, the devil. What would that even mean? I have no idea.
Could be
just
like
become a sea devil. I don't know.
Could be like an ancient, mythical, godly Zoan fruit that just gives you crazy,
the Leviathan fruit.
Omnipotent, godly abilities.
God, I feel like that's too much even for One Piece.
That's too much.
Leviathan Zoan or something. I don't know. I think the sea devil fruit would be hilarious.
Sea devil.
And it's just like, you've become a mythical creature. Okay, fine, fuck it.
What if like I've always been, because obviously there aren't any fruits that have to do with like water like that, right? Because like obviously that's just like
the water zone,
contradictory or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what if it's just like a water, like this, like a water fruit? Because it's like, think about how strong that would be. It's like, man, like we're fighting on water a lot of the time, and it's like if there was a user that could just manipulate the entire ocean,
I mean,
and that's like
that would lend towards like Neptune, right? Like instead of Uranus, it's Neptune or something like that, and they're just shit. Neptune, yeah, he's the thing, like, or like Poseidon or whatever. It's
I think it's Poseidon and Neptune. Greek.
If you can control water, if you can turn your body into water, merge with water, and then just control water within a certain distance, you would effectively be god of the sea.
Right, type shit. And it's like it's contradictory or whatever in some kind of way, and that's why we haven't seen them or whatever, is like kind of like just how I've been thinking about that for a while. But like I feel like the fact that we haven't seen that, besides it just like not making sense inside of the power system up to our current understanding, is also just because Oda's saving that for some reason, is just a thought that I have as well. And it's like, man.
Or he could just go super troll and call it the One Piece fruit.
Just like trying to think of like how that even like works, because it's like, man, Aokiji with the ice fruit, it's like you see him on open water and it's like it's over with too, you know what I mean? So it's like, what about this fruit in relation to the example that I just gave about it being so strong because you can just control water? It's like, what makes that more powerful than just Aokiji just freezing the fucking ocean you're fighting on? Because it's like and now I'm like like I don't know, back to the back to the back of the mind box for that, because it's like,
it's like, what could it be?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I feel like it has to be something that's just overpowered. That's all, folks.
It feels like such a dick tease too, because like I feel like this is just not even going to be talked about for another fucking like 30 chapters.
I know, like maybe even longer. Who fucking knows? Like, yeah, One Piece that's you got to deal with that. It's like super interesting plot thread has just been hung down. Guess when you're gonna get that wrapped up.
What is he talking about? What's going on with Zunisha?
2,000 chapters later.
The fact that it's juxtaposed with this Zunisha panel, though, makes me think it has to do with Zunisha, and we're gonna get the answer sooner rather than later.
I didn't take it that way. I looked at it as just like, yo, like they're talking about that thing, and also Zunisha is here to fuck you up.
Oh man, what if it's like?
But it could obviously just be either one, you know.
I think it'd be interesting if it was like the Kraken fruit.
Oh,
and just
Jesus.
you turn into the Kraken. Like, it's the Kraken zoanthrope. Like, this is one of the oldest sea creatures alive.
Have we seen any marine? We seen any marine animal zoans yet?
Look,
not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, me neither.
But that's why it'd be so OP, you know?
Yeah. They're talking with the Elder Stars.
Yeah, hold on, real quick. I feel like that doesn't work though, because like then how do you swim as in your marine animal form? How does that work?
That's why I'm like, it's probably because of that's why it's like a special fruit that like takes forever to awaken. It's just like,
sure,
like because like krakens themselves and squids were nicknamed sea devils.
Oh wow!
So because they're like, you know, they'll destroy things and stuff, and tear apart ships, and there's always those horror stories about that. So like the fact that sea devils made the fruit, what if the sea devils are actually a thing and they're just like squids, like giant evil magical squids that have fruits that grant people random ass powers, and they made a kraken fruit.
Insane.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Oda's done weirder stuff. So.
Yeah, Oda do be in his weird bag sometimes, for sure. But yeah, Eagle, sorry, go ahead, man.
It's just weird, the flow of this conversation, because like they're on the Denden Mushi, like they're saying all they're talking about the Elder Stars are talking about the fight between Big Mom and Kaido, just saying anything could happen. Hopefully we have her in custody already, Nico Robin. And then they're telling on the Denden Mushi all the ships to stand by. They say all ships remain on standby. And the guy in the black hat on page 17 goes and they go, what is it? And they said there's a huge shadow up ahead. What is it? I don't know. An island, and then there's like a passing of time, kind of like white panel, whoosh, kind of. And then we go back to the Elder Stars, and they're saying, no, that's impossible. That fruit is only a legend now, even to us. It has not awakened for centuries upon centuries. Then why would the government bother to give that one specific devil fruit another name? And then we get to erase the annals, to erase it from the annals of history. But the conversation shifts from Big Mom and Kaido and Robin to this fucking devil fruit, and it shifts because of something this dude says on the Denden Mushi when Zunisha shows up.
No, I think that's just a coincidence, right? Because he's like, I don't know, an island, and then you think that the bald Gorosei with the giant mustache is saying, no, that's impossible to an island dialogue bubble. But like, I think that they're just continuing their conversation after a break in time. I don't think that they're talking to him on the Denden Mushi at all. I think that that's just a separate conversation that's happening throughout their comm system, and it doesn't have anything to do with what the Gorosei are talking about at all.
But what conversation are they continuing, though?
Right, Oda's just not showing us that. He's making it's confusing on purpose to make you go, what are they talking about? I disagree. Okay.
And
but like the way that I see it, because it's like, okay, they're having their first conversation here in this middle dialogue bubble. When Kaido and Big Mom are involved in a fight, death could easily come for anyone, which makes it the perfect cover to eliminate inconveniences. And then time is shifting over to this at sea near Wano. All ships remain on standby. What is it? Like, do you think that they're talking to the Gorosei?
Yes, via Denden Mushi.
Right, but like I don't even see them. Like, they're talking to each other. They don't even have a Denden Mushi.
Yes, he does. On the top of page 17, this dude in the black hat is
holding but where's their Denden? Where's the Gorosei's Denden Mushi?
They always got one right on a little table in the office in the tent.
Is that right? I mean, I can't see a Denden Mushi. If they always have that, I just
right in front of them on the table, there is a Denden Mushi.
Okay, you see it? Or you're just saying it's there because it's always
in
there?
Front of them.
I don't even see that. There's just things on it. I don't even see the Denden Mushi at all. I can't make out anything on the table.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's very hard to say. That's what I'm saying. It's like, are they even communicating with them? I know you want to think so because the conversation seems to flow right back to the Gorosei as if they're talking to him on the Den Den Mushi. But I'm saying I think that these are two completely separate conversations leading into the last panel, right? Because Zunisha is pulling up on the boat, on the ships. That's linking to what the guy in the black hat is talking about. But then their dialogue from their separate conversation is also superimposed over that scene as well. So I think that it's just two conversations
in parallel.
Yeah.
I think that would be really weird.
I mean, it is a weird conversation, to be honest.
They don't have to be talking to the Gorosei though. Like, this dude could be talking to like literally anyone else inside of the Navy that he'd be regularly using his communications device or communication system for. Like, I really don't think they have to be talking to the Gorosei at all. The Gorosei are having a completely different conversation than what they're talking about with what the guy with the black hat is talking about.
Well, yeah, but why would you include a random fucking person on the Den Den Mushi?
To let you know that Zunisha is pulling up.
Yeah, I feel like they're referring to Zunisha when they're like, erase that fruit's name from the annals history.
I think that's what Eagle thinks too. But I'm saying I think that these are just two completely different conversations that are happening. The guy on the black hat is telling his people that a giant shadowy figure is pulling up to the behind the ships, and the Gorosei are having their conversation about Kaido and Nico Robin and this fruit, completely separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see where you're coming
from. That's just my interpretation of it. It definitely doesn't have to be factual, but that's just like my take.
I mean, that's fair, and I also feel like the ambiguity of it is the point a little bit, where he's just like, am I talking about it straight, or am I being a little sly about it?
Right.
Check out next chapter. Find out in like 10 chapters.
No, not next chapter. Yeah, at least 10. I'm guessing.
10 chapters, we'll find out.
Yeah.
I'm Oda.
But definitely like very awkwardly composed. I agree with that. You know what I mean? Because it's like up until like when we started this review, I definitely thought the same thing, I think. Because it's like, because the dude's like, there's a huge shadow up ahead. What is it? I don't know. An island? ? And then it goes back to the Gorosei and he's like, no, that's impossible. It sounds like he's answering that dude's question. But that just like after the conversation and reading it again, I just don't think that's what's happening anymore. So
well, I'm saying it's not that it's impossible. I'm just saying I think it's a little sticklery to say that because I can't point out a Den Den Mushi. Like, we know
I just couldn't see it. I
didn't know they're always linked to this situation. They're specifically referring about what's unfolding in Wano.
Yeah.
We know 100% beyond the shadow of a doubt they have a Den Den Mushi to one of these ships.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
It's keeping them up to date on the situation.
That's for sure, but that doesn't mean they have to be using it right now in this scene.
They're giving commands to this dude.
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems that way. All ships remain on standby. We don't see who's actually saying that. You're making an assumption. Your assumption is fine, but I don't think the chapter confirms anything.
One way or the other. Really.
One way or the other. Yeah.
If you want to take it that. I think it's an easy assumption to make that.
Yeah, it is. I literally just said I thought the exact same thing as you when we started the review. Like moments ago.
It's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, like I get what you're saying, bro. I just don't think that's the case anymore.
I'm interested to see, because like,
let us know in the comments what y'all think. How is the conversation going? Do you think it's what Eagle is saying, or do you think it's what I recently introduced? Let us know down there. Or if it's something different, throw that in too, of course.
But
yeah.
But I think that's pretty much all I had.
Yeah, I think I'm good on One Piece too.
All right, well, I think that'll do it for this chapter of One Piece. I think that'll do it for this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. So, thank you all so much for watching. If you did, be sure to slap a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well for more fire-ass weekly content. Make sure you comment on this video. Let us know what you thought of this Week in Jump or the conversation as a whole. And as we said before, be sure to check out the description box down below where you can find links to any and all of our individual social media accounts such as Twitter, online communities like Discord, and places to support the podcast, like our online shop and our Patreon, as well as audio listening platforms to consume the podcast on.
Oh, yeah.
With all that said, this will be another stupendous episode of the Project Manga Podcast wrapping up. I'm your host, Eagle.
Knox.
Mellow Yenis.
Peace.